Everybody, it's the Gin and Tonic Show. It's the 18th of January, 2015. It's no longer 2014. I think I like 2014. I don't know why they had to change it. Anyway, Klingschor is late. Well, actually, I'm the one who overslept, and then it was a mad rush, and then while I was shaving, I already started the computer, and then when I got ready, everything is now up and going. Hello, welcome to the... Oh, I see who's there. Klingschor also made it. Thank goodness. I thought I would have to do this alone. So it's a Gin and Tonic Show, and we speak usually, mostly, a little bit about Islam, because it is grabbing the headlines once again. Are you going to do your usual intro, or are we going to skip it? He doesn't have a microphone. Nobody can understand him. Nobody can understand Klingschor. Okay, so I'll just have to waffle a bit until he plugs in the microphone. It's the Gin and Tonic Show. We are atheists. We don't have a belief. We don't have an atheistic worldview. We don't follow atheism. We don't have any like that. We're just the opposite of a theist. So the theist believes that there's a God, and we don't. That's all. It's just like a golfer doesn't have a a vision of what happened with the universe in the beginning. Neither does an atheist. So there's a couple of things that people don't seem to understand. I don't know why it's so difficult. Why people think that an atheist also automatically believes that everything just came by chance and things. It's absolute nonsense. An atheist does not believe this. Atheist does not believe anything. In fact, an atheist lacks a belief regarding gods and does not believe anything else. So an atheist does not believe anything, has no position, no stance, no anything. And that's why it's an atheist, the opposite of a theist. We're talking about Islam, which is the religion of Islam, as well as the socio-political system, ideology, worldview, and a political ideology. And I'm seeing more and more evidence for this political ideology, the way that people are behaving. I mean, even people like all these apologists, like Sources and Nike, and yeah, they all say that apostates can only be killed if they go against the state, against the nation, against the ummah, against the whatever. And this, I think, is also proof that this is more a political ideology than anything else. So anyway, it's based on the Quran, which is vague and ambiguous, so it needs interpretation, and secondary text, the Sunnah. And that's what we are here to explain, Islam and all the different various components and its contents. So we're not here to make nice. And now Klingschor, I see a muted microphone, so he must have made it. So what are we all about? Welcome to the Gin and Tonic Show.
Thank you. Oh, ostensibly, we are a online call-in panel discussion show, a weekly one that focuses on the religion of Islam and related topics. Ideally, in juxtaposition to the propaganda of Muslim apologists, the far right, conservative Christians, and other parties of disinformance, the Gin and Tonic Show aims to bring a balanced perspective to issues pertaining to Islam by presenting accurate information in order to educate its viewers on Islamic history, scripture, theology, and political issues.
I don't know about you, but you know that I am still somewhat shell-shocked after the events in Paris. And I mean, it's now like 2 weeks ago, and I still can't quite fathom, or I can't come to terms with the lack of a reaction by Muslims. I mean, here for once they could shine now, and they could show, okay, this is not us. We're against this, and what we're doing now is this and this and this. But they don't. They don't. They say, oh yeah, well, these are not really Muslims. We're against this. We're against all forms of terrorism, and we only condone what is in the Quran. Well, this is in the Quran, you fuckheads. I don't understand what these people are doing, really. And now you have Muslims going on the street, not demonstrating against Muslims who are killing, raping, plundering, and torturing and enslaving. No, because some people draw funny pictures. And This is where Muslims go to the street. This is where Muslims kill. This is where they show their outrage. When somebody paints or draws a funny picture. I don't know. I'm speechless.
Well, consider this. Who's more likely to go out and riot? Is it someone who's socially progressive, or is it a conservative thug?
Yeah.
Because obviously the conservatives are going to go out, and they're the ones who are more motivated, they're the ones who are more angry, they're the ones who are more violent, usually. So they're the ones you see on the streets. So you wouldn't expect anything different, I think, in terms of almost not by definition, but almost as like a requisite for being progressive is often an abstainment from violence. So you wouldn't expect that kind of violent reaction from a progressive Muslim. So I don't think it's that significant that you see. Also, keep in mind the media is there to make money. So, of course, it's going to emphasize and capitalize upon a mob, whereas, some conference of Islamic leaders meeting all to condemn terrorism doesn't get as much press, if any press at all, because it doesn't sell as well as an angry mob, for example.
Okay.
So I wouldn't be too surprised.
Okay, but the angry mob is in the streets, right? Where do educated, civilized, and progressive Muslims go? They go to the media. So, I see Mehdi Hassan, okay? And what does this super idiot do? He doesn't go and say, no, hang on, this is now where we need to draw the line. Now this is enough, all right? Now we need to take a stand, and we need to look, we need to take a hard look at what the Quran actually says. No, he trumpets the whole stupid nonsense, the same as Yasir Qadhi, the same as, all these guys who are a little bit more educated, who should, by all rights, should say, look, this is not us. And who can vocalize some sort of, I don't know, reform. I mean, why is it only Irshad Manji and now I've got a block. Now what?
Budget.
Why are these the only two that I see who are outspoken and who say, okay, we need to do something. We need to change something. We need to radically reform Islam. Why is it that I only see these two people going, to the media? Well, no, come on. There's also another guy. I can't remember his name. He is actually the chairman of the Quilliam Foundation. He's also out there doing his thing. So there are people. All right. I shouldn't say only these two. There is a handful. All right. So there's a couple of people who are out there who are saying exactly this. We need to take a new hard look at the Quran. We need to reevaluate our own belief. We need to, look at the whole system, and we need to understand what we can do and what we can change in what way to stop this. But that's it. That's just a handful of people. All the others are just silent, saying, well, this is not me. Fuck this. And they're just gone. The main point that I'm trying to make is that such a small group is trying to exert so much influence, and such a small group is causing for so much, I don't know, damage and so much pain and so much hatred on this planet. It's absolutely amazing. And this is which
small group?
Muslims, the radical Muslims.
Even on a global scale, the damage they cause is so much less than most forms of nationalism, let alone most forms of foreign policy. So I respectfully disagree.
Hang on, say again.
In terms of the damage caused by other forces in the world, I think it's pretty insignificant.
I don't get it. What other forces in the world?
I don't know.
Who is killing people on a daily basis?
Most nationalist and separatist groups around the world kill people constantly.
Okay, if the Austrian Centre Party or the Swiss whatever party, are they killing people on a daily basis?
I have no idea.
But what makes you say that? I don't get what makes you say that there are parties. There are like in Switzerland or in Germany or France. You are saying they are killing people on a daily basis?
In Germany and France? Well, I have no idea.
Yeah, but that's what you just said.
What do you think I just said?
You said that there are political parties which are killing people on a daily basis in countries.
Yes. Well, groups, organizations, separatist groups, Basque groups, anarchist groups, communist groups.
Okay, how many Basques killed Spanish people, like, in the last year? On a daily basis?
No, not every single group is killing people on a daily basis, but together, the number of people who are dying from invasions and occupations, I think, exceeds the number of people who die from, say, Al-Qaeda attacks, for example.
Like what invasions?
Well, I don't know, the US invasion of Iraq, the US invasion of Afghanistan, the US supported coup d'etat of Suharto, which killed, what did that kill? 1 million people.
There are more people dying now in Iraq than when American or the UN troops were in Iraq.
But
this is before Daesh. Before
it was US foreign policy
dying in Iraq, then there were people dying when the UN troops were in Iraq.
It was US foreign policy that created that situation, that caused that bloodletting. There were no suicide bombings in Iraq before the US came. Now there's gluts of suicide bombing. There was no suicide bombings in Afghanistan either.
Of course there were. Of course, I was there.
Before the US invasion.
During the US invasion.
Yes, exactly. During the US invasion, when they invaded, a lot more people died.
But before the US invasion, there were even more people dying in Afghanistan.
And whose fault was that one as well? Yes, and how did the Taliban get there? Whose foreign policy was the Taliban?
Well, you can't just blame everything on the US now.
No, it was Pakistan. Pakistan trained the Taliban. And who is Pakistan's special ally? Who does Pakistan answer to? The United States. And how did Afghanistan get into a situation where the Taliban could even take over in the first place? Because Thatcher and Reagan spent billions and billions of dollars supporting and training Mujahideen, right? Who overthrew and destroyed a secular, progressive, modernistic society. So I mean, who causes the most deaths? Oh, what? Oh, is it the Taliban? No, it's that foreign policy which destroys countries and causes civil wars and allows these kind of movements to even have any kind of attraction in the first place.
Okay,
you can see everywhere you go over the world, you can see this occurring. I mean, I don't understand. Like, what?
Where do you see foreign involvement at the moment?
At the moment. Well, there was the intervention in Libya, for example, which has destabilized the country and made it far worse. There was the recent occurrence in the aforementioned recent occurrences in Iraq, Afghanistan. The US propped up Mubarak.
I'm going back decades. I'm saying
no. I'm looking at the last decade. I'm just looking at the last decade. Don't know what else. I'm better at the longer term stuff.
No, the thing is that I don't get this. That you are starting to blame now the United States for everything that is happening on this planet. I think
no, not everything. Not everything.
Well,
but if you want to do a death count,
answering to the United States.
No, what I'm saying is that they are a strategic ally. Right, so in that case,
now it's thought, yeah, but that sounds a lot different.
No, see, in that case, I would put more blame of the Taliban upon Pakistan and their foreign policy. It's not just Europeans. This is not like a European specialty. But what I'm saying is that around the world,
realistic. We had the Cold War, right? And it is true that the US caused a lot of damage during that Cold War with their obsession with Russia. That they did anything and everything to get at Russia. This is why they trained the Mujahideen in the first place, to go and have an ally in the south of Russia where they can go and stick needles into the side of Russia. So this obsession with Russia has destroyed and has killed millions. I agree with you on that one. But come on, this has gone. Then what happened is you still have the old, this thing that the U.S. is dependent on its military expenditure, that the military industry is the driving force in the U.S. And this is unfortunately true. But the thing is that it's starting to change, and they're going away from this. But they still were doing this in the 70s and 80s. But since then, there has been a change. And then what happened when Kuwait got run over by Iraq? They very happily went.
But no, even then, why did he invade? Because he got a green light from the US, right? But then they changed their mind, and even then,
evidence that he got green light. That Saddam Hussein said, okay, yes, Saddam Hussein, you can go and invade Kuwait. Come on, where do you get this from? This sounds like a conspiracy theory by someone.
No.
Do you think Iraq goes and asks permission from the U.S.? Can we please invade Kuwait? And then the U.S. says, "Oh, sure, go ahead, invade Kuwait, but we're going to go and check you out." No, I don't think so.
No, I remember reading Saddam was he misinterpreted the U.S. response to his request. So, but there was some sort of I can't remember the exact details now. So yeah, unfortunately we've gone on to a topic upon which I have not prepared. So I'm left.
Yeah, but I didn't want to go there. But the point that I'm trying to make is that we have a small group of people who are trying to run the whole planet, and unfortunately those involved are not really doing anything about it. And this is what makes me so angry. This is why I'm still under the influence of that. And I'm seriously asking myself, what are we doing here? Because if whatever we do, it doesn't really matter. Muslims are going to do their own thing. They don't give a continental damn whether or not the Quran is correct or not, whether the Hadiths make any sense or not, whether everything in the Quran is just utter bullshit. They don't care. They have this brainwashed thing that they are saying, this is the way that it is, and if we have a creator, anything is possible. And as long as we have a creator, we don't need to do anything, we don't need to learn anything, we can just go and do our own thing, and we are going to run the world together with our creator because he is on our side. And they don't care how they get this. So what is going to happen is they are through violence, through sheer violence, when the rest of the planet is looking for ways to live in peace. Even though you're saying that the U.S. is not, I get the impression, if I generalize, that the rest of the planet is actually going to look to live in peace, and Muslims are not interested in that. So I see Dawah channels where they're not even trying to come to terms with what their violent or barbaric fellow Muslims are doing. They're celebrating. I mean, there's some director now that joined Islam, and that's all they're celebrating, and that's all they have. There's no pity. There's no reaction. There's no, oh, we feel sorry for the families and blah blah blah. No, let's have more joiners. Let's convert more people to Islam. So they don't have any empathy. They don't have any compassion, and that's why I think what we're doing is absolutely useless. It doesn't change anything.
Okay. In referring to what I was alluding to before with America and Saddam, this I'm just gonna, because I'm being lazy right now. I'm just gonna quote Wikipedia. On the 25th of July 1990, the U.S. ambassador to Iraq, April Glaspie, asked the Iraqi High Command to explain the military preparations in progress, including the massing of Iraqi troops near the border. The American ambassador declared to her Iraqi interlocutor that Washington was inspired by the friendship and not by confrontation, does not have an opinion on the disagreement between Kuwait and Iraq, stating, "We have no opinion on the Arab conflicts." Right.
So having no opinion translates now into giving a green light?
Oh no, so in this case, this wasn't as explicit, say, as the Indonesian invasion of Timor, where there was a green light given by Kissinger. But in this case, this was just a vague non-opinion which was interpreted by Saddam. So I should clarify that. Yeah. So just wanted to clarify that. Sorry, continue.
No. This is. No, I just find it strange that somebody would say that the US is the #1 perpetrator and everybody is dancing to the tune of the US, and I don't see that. I think the US is becoming a bully, and people are waking up to the fact, and are slowly starting to say, listen, that is it. And that's why, for example, when this NSA scandal came out, that they were eavesdropping on what's her name, the Prime Minister in Germany, that she and Angie, that they were eavesdropping on her with, tapping her phone. That was a big thing, and that was a big breach of trust. And that's when Obama realized that he went a step too far. I mean, Obama he has been the biggest disappointment in my life, where I really thought that he might be able to make a change and turn around this overwhelming, overbearing United States animal and make it into a country once again. But he's done the exact opposite. He's closed all the borders. He's, like a porcupine, just telling everybody to go and shove off, and then going, sticking needles into other people's affairs. So this I see as well. But I don't see it that they are the #1 instigator, that they are killing more people than Daesh and Boko Haram and Al-Shabaab together. No, I don't think so. So if I look at how many deaths there are on a daily basis, I think nobody does Muslims or the various groups.
Well, see again though. Right now we're looking at a post US Middle East, where all these situations with movements like Daesh are post US invasions and post US destabilization. So really, the key causal factor here is that the US has destabilized the region. So I would attribute that to the agency of the US. Does that make? Do you get what I'm saying?
No, there I agree with you. Yes. I'm not saying that right now. I mean, yes, I think that in terms of death count, the US has killed a lot more people than Muslims over the last few decades. But right now, this moment, most of the deaths right now are caused from the US destabilizing the region, causing the collapse. Even that statement I would contest. Because I've looked at all the numbers, and I've looked at all the different claims, where Muslims are saying that the US killed a couple of million, and then it turns out that we're looking more like 250,000. But even the 250,000, I mean, that's a more of a lot. So I can't say, look, they're not killing so many people. I mean, that's a hell of a lot of people that they killed in those 15 years. So this is a huge number. But that is being outdone at the moment, not during the height of the war. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that exactly what you are pointing out, post UN intervention in the Middle East, that at the moment it is being far outdone by Muslims who are killing each other mostly. But anyway, I think we should change this, because we're never going to agree on this and what to do with it. Neither one of us is actually prepared for this, so all we have is just what we've read and what we said in some other place. At least this is the case with me. All right. Most of what I'm going off is a lot of this is what I learned, for example, in my Middle East history courses. So now I'm slugging back a year or two. So it's yeah. Sorry if I wasn't able to. Hey? No, fine. But the thing is that I'm going back to what Brzezinski said, for example. This advisor, when I did the research for the Sources video, Islam and Violence. Now that's also like two and a half years ago. And these are the numbers that I have from those days. So I don't have the current numbers. I'm just following what is going on at the moment. And at the moment, I just see that. It doesn't matter where I go, whether it's it's one straight line between Boko Haram, Al-Shabaab, Daesh, Taliban, Al-Qaeda, and so it's like a belt of violence that is happening there, which is now influencing the rest of the world, even though it's a smaller number. And what makes me so angry is that the people who are involved in this are not reacting. So if I would be I don't know, what am I? hobby. What are these bird lovers who are sending pigeons from far away and measuring how long it takes before their favorite pigeon comes home and things like that. So if I would be in an organization like that, who was racing pigeons, so the Association of Pigeon Racers, if I would now find that some people were cruelly, I don't know, killing birds or doping their animals so that they can fly faster and then they die and things like that, I would open my beak. I would go and say, listen, this is not fair, this is not right, this is wrong, this needs to stop. I would go and ask for an independent investigation to expose this and to make it transparent and to hold those people accountable who are doing this, even though it is my own group. I would try and clean up my own group. It doesn't matter what group I am in. And here I see that the group of Muslims are not doing that. They are not holding their own members accountable. They are pretending like they don't exist, and they're just saying, no, it's not my responsibility. They're not really Muslims, and this is what disappoints me so much. This is like the cops in America, we're back in America now, because I think that they're totally crazy. They are power hungry, and nobody has ever challenged them, and they're used to getting their own way, and they don't give a damn whether they are being overly abusive and power abusive or whatever. They just carry on doing it. Even now, I thought, after all these murders and after there's a lot of attention now and there's a spotlight on the cops, that they will stop. No, they don't. They continue just the same way as they did. They don't care. They still bully and boss people around. They still shoot people, unarmed people, which I think is atrocious. So there's a group of cops, and it's the same thing. They are protecting each other. Nobody is standing up and saying, I'm going to cross this, well, they call it the thin blue line, and I'm going to go outside and hold them accountable. Nobody's doing it. Well, nobody is untrue. There are some, but very, very few. The same situation as in Islam. There's a handful of people who are all for transparency and accountability, but the majority is not. They're just trying to protect and hide and kill and run away. And this makes me so sick. So that was me. Okay, let me just go through the news and then we can talk about whatever. Open the chat or whatever. I don't know. Actually, I'd like to go into, if we can. Are you ready for a topic like taking a look at the development of Arabic over history?
Sure.
All right, then I'll just quickly go through, because I haven't done the news last week, so I didn't do any this week, so I'm just going to go through what happened last week. Remember the week before that, I mentioned that Imran Ibn Binzor had his channel got shut down, and I said I was going to try and find out what the background was, why a Muslim gets his channel shut down by Muslims, and then Inspector. I don't even know if people want to remain anonymous or not. I don't know if they want to be associated with these things or not. I don't know if people actually like being, well, this information came from me and it's being quoted here and I am the one who's being quoted, or whether I should keep them in the background and say, okay, it's a source. It's somebody who knows the background a bit without really quoting them. Anyway, so a video blogger named Adam Saleh. He came over to the UK, all right? And Dawah man apparently is quite jealous about this because the sisters were very excited about meeting Saleh. I don't know what he looks like, I don't know. But I know Dawah man thinks of himself that he's quite a ladies' man, with his speaking to 14-year-olds in the street. Anyway, so he thought that Saleh shouldn't be taking photos, these selfies with his female fans, and then Dawah set out on a campaign to correct his brother's behavior and to dampen the attention he received from the Muslims. So Saleh's crew or management or promoters, they were upset with Dawah that he was, trying to restrict Saleh with what he was doing, and reported his YouTube channel, the Dahisha Sessions or whatever, for copyright infringement. And it stuck, so the channel was closed down. So you have a Muslim, like snitching on another Muslim and telling them to shut the channel down. So this is quite weird. And the video that we made in the German show last week was also had a copyright strike, and I was told that it had to be from the age of 18 because it contained a clip of the shootings in Paris. So everywhere where this clip is being shown, it's now made sure that this is age restricted and you're not allowed to show this in public. And I don't know why. It's news, okay? It's news. It's the same thing as showing Kobane or something where people are being shot. But anyway, here Muslims are upset. So. And then GP made an excellent point. Again, I don't know if I should say the whole name or not. Made an excellent point where in the UK, the Muslims around Chowdhury, for example, would maybe join Daesh, but most would actually shy away from the brutality and violence. And this is what I see a lot, that people are really upset with this Daesh brutality. But, and this is an important point, if presented with this option, would vote for Daesh for sure. So if Daesh would go and open a political party in the UK, a lot of Muslims would vote for it. So this shows the propensity to support an Islamic political offering, even when renouncing the violence. So this is actually quite strange, and yes, I agree with that, and I see this as well, that a lot of Muslims are actually saying the idea is correct. The execution maybe is a little bit wrong, and they shouldn't kill so many people, and they shouldn't rape so many women, and blah, blah, blah. But the idea is correct. So it's quite sick to have this in the 21st century. And then a few weeks ago, I mentioned that a Christian church was protected by Muslims. And a lot of people are angry with this. I don't know, well, not a lot. Some people are angry about this because they say, well, it's disputed because the Christian pastor said no. So there's two sides making opposing claims regarding different instances of Muslims rioting, killing people, or destroying a church, and then some Muslims are protecting this. So there's an unresolved situation. So I'm not going to take any sides on that. Okay, what is quite funny, and this is for me the sentence of the week, that the intellectual and emotional energy it takes to figure out how God fits into everything is far greater than dealing with reality as it presents itself to us. And that is exactly the point. This is what the situation is today, that how much it takes for a Muslim to argue the case for their God, or for Christians for that matter. How much it takes, to figure out how can we fit this into reality? How can we make reality fit into the book? And how can we try and match what is written in the book with the reality today? It is immense how much energy and emotional stuff, input it requires. And then you look at this and you say, look, if you look at reality, it's so much easier to understand. Talking about traveling, I travel a lot, and I think I need to. I don't think I've ever flown Saudi, the Saudi Arabian airline. What they're doing now is they want to introduce something, a new kind of service, taking flying to a whole new level, and that is segregated compartments, so that women and men no longer have to sit close to each other, that women can have their own little space for them, and the men have the space. It's amazing. We talked about, I don't know, Selena Gomez, some singer from the States, flashing a smile and flashing an ankle in a mosque. And this caused outrage. Not the killing by Daesh in Iraq, but the fact that a girl is in a mosque and you can see an ankle. That causes outrage. Anyway, she's now got a boyfriend in Dubai. So he's looking after her. So it's so hypocritical. Then, what about the pagan origins of the Kaaba? It's often claimed that it was made by Abraham, but according to Wellhausen and his heathen remains of pagan rituals in Islam, This is not true. It's all pagan. That's why you still have magic spells and curses and all these funny things. The wicked, what's it called? The wicked eye or bad evil eye or something like this. And I don't know if we talked about the street magician in Syria who made coins or a foe disappear and entertained. And he was loved by kids for his little tricks. And Daesh now executed him. They cut off his head because his entertainment was anti-Islamic, because they were performed through illusions and falsehood. They said that the time could have been better used by going to a mosque instead of making little magic tricks. So, not a required necessary, but okay. This is not the reformation, but it's a small step in the right direction. Egypt's president opened the new year with a dramatic call for revolution in Islam to reform interpretations of the faith, entrenched for hundreds of years, which he said have made Muslim world a source of destruction and pitted it against the rest of the world. So the Egyptian president has now officially said that we should reread the interpretations and maybe see if we can make them a little bit better. Not the complete reformation, but anyway, it's the right step. So it's somebody who is influential who's actually saying something. Let's see how much influence this actually carries. Then we have the Saudi blogger who received, no, hang on, he was supposed to receive, but then for health reasons they postponed it. So there is some influence, because Raif Badawi, his crime was having an online forum, and there were some unsavory remarks made on Islam. And so he was ordered to pay 1 million riyals, which is what, $270,000, and 50 lashes once a week for 20 weeks. I mean, that's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. 1,000 lashes. So you lash somebody because he has an online forum where he criticizes Islam, and then you do it in public. Amazing. And his lawyer was sentenced to 15 years imprisonment for inciting public opinion and insulting the judiciary. And in spite of international media coverage, in spite of intervention by governments and human rights organizations, the Muslims will not show mercy. And they even increased the sentence to set an example of what happens when you use free speech. So the Muslim world is not exactly in favor of free speech. Or they say, yeah, free speech, yes, but not when it comes to Islam. So, and this is quite funny, and this is something where I actually wanted your opinion. Since the creation of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia on the 23rd of September 1932, it has been the government's express policy that the country is governed by Islamic law, Sharia. This was confirmed by the Basic Law of Rule, Royal Order number A90 of the 27th Shaban 1412 Hijra, corresponding to 1st of March 1992 Gregorian, which is effectively the country's constitution. Now, the government may issue regulations provided that these do not conflict with established principles of Islamic law. And I'd like to hear your opinion on this, because it says the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is a sovereign Arab Islamic state with Islam as its religion. God's book and the Sunnah of his Prophet, God's prayers and peace be upon him, are its constitution. Arabic is his language and Riyadh is his capital. How much Sharia do you think is in Saudi Arabia?
How much Sharia? I don't know how to weigh it like that. I mean the current system is kind of the Sharia system. We have all these Hadiths, these Islamic judges, and whenever you have any kind of legal issue, you go to the Qadi, and he'll give you the his legal ruling with recourse to Hanbali fiqh jurisprudence.
So what
that's my understanding.
Yeah, and I agree with that. But what do you think it would take so that people can say, well, this is a country truly under Sharia?
I don't know. I don't think there's. I mean, it seems like a fiction, an unattainable fiction. But But I guess that's one of the closest you can get, I suppose. Even then, I mean, the problem with Saudi Arabia, you might say, from maybe like a conservative Hanbali perspective, perhaps, is that the monarchy seem very corrupt and self-serving and hedonistic behind closed doors. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
So
Which is why I'm quite surprised to hear that Muslims are saying, no, there is no country which is running under Sharia, and Saudi Arabia is non-Islamic. It is not running under Islamic law. This is why I looked up the constitution, and this is what I found there. And I thought to myself, hang on, Saudi Arabia says it's Arabic and it's Islamic. Saudi Arabia says it is a country run under Sharia. So why is it, or why would it be that Muslims are saying, no, Saudi Arabia is not running under Sharia? So I don't understand the contradiction. I don't understand how that comes about. So I thought maybe you've heard something about this, that you know, this is where it comes from.
Do you mean, why do people contest it?
Yes. Why would they contest it if Saudi Arabia itself is saying we're running under Sharia?
I imagine, and from what I recall from experiencing this kind of rhetoric myself, is that the claim is usually that the Saudi interpretation is totally wrong, or they're misapplying it, or something along that lines. Usually, I suspect it's something as simple as, I don't like Saudi Arabia, and therefore they're doing the Sharia incorrectly.
That also could be, yeah.
I think that's probably
simple,
the real rationale behind it. Does that make sense?
Okay, then, hang on. Oh, shit, there's a lot of comments. There was a question which was interesting, which I wanted to pose to you, and now I've lost it because there's so many. Oh, wow. Muslims are going to the office. Stop reading communist news. Is the US and China Ireland stands out among... Okay, I need to read this later. Watching the show, appreciate the effort. Well, okay, I need to read number 19. Yeah, okay, the ISIS. Where was this thing that I said? Okay, to say a bit, because you mentioned that...
I imagine the more conservative viewers are not very pleased with my...
No, I'm getting some flack too. Don't worry. I mean, if we're going into the politics of the US, I think is here. Where is the idea of throwing gays off buildings? Where did that come from? Did Muhammad say it, or did it come later? Because I know this is later.
I believe this is from, technically it's not a hadith. Hadith, strictly speaking. Okay, so the problem is that the terminology is used differently. So Shiites use the term akhbar as synonymous with the hadith, for example. But going by some kind of Sunni convention, a hadith is a story about Muhammad, and athar is a story about one of his, say, the Sahaba or a successor or something, and then akhbar are just sort of like historiographical, chronicle kind of reports from even later. So I think an athar so a story about Muhammad's pals depicts, I think, Abu Bakr throwing someone off a building. If you give me a second, I'll just find an actual quote to substantiate
that. I will address Korai's question, because following the alleged numerical and mathematical miracles in the Quran, such as those relating to recurrence of the supposedly miraculous number 19, no, that's plain numerology. This doesn't exist. And even if you look at the quotes, the claims, sorry, you will see that they are false claims. All right. So, for example, it says that the Bismillah contains 19 letters. It doesn't. It only does so in the 1924 codified Quran version. If you look at the old Kufic or Yazidi script Qurans, this is missing. There you only have 18. So as soon as you start looking at this, just a little bit beneath the surface, you will immediately find that this is total bullshit. This is fabricated. Like, for example, do we have 19 planets? No. Do we have 19 elements? No. Do we have 19 anything? No, we don't. Everything is random. So this number 19 thing is a retrofitting exercise, which is utter nonsense. Then
okay. So, sorry, I found some stuff on this, but sorry, continue.
Because he's making the many parallels between Islam and non-Abrahamic beliefs, such as the recurrence of a number 70 cosmology, exactly, this is the same thing. The idea of it being made from clay and water, exactly, same thing. With the Egyptian, exactly, there's even gods made out of that. So, yes, this is repetitive. The bridge crossing to hell, which also appears in yeah, I mean, the Yazidis and Zoroastrians, they prayed 5 times. So Islam is a cocktail of different traditions, of different rituals, of pagan rituals, from different religions, or from different influential groups, even as far as from the Hindus. I've shown with the mountains, for example, this comes from the Hindus. The origins of Mecca and the Kaaba as a holy place of worship. Okay, we've done this so many times. Built by Abraham? No. There is nothing here that can be substantiated by anything. These are all pagan traditions, and this circumambulation, throwing stones at the devil, and all these little rituals. This all comes from earlier days. Could you please? Why Muhammad drew upon the Abrahamic tradition? Why he's on? Okay, we've done the history of the Quran of Islam a couple of times. To put it into a nutshell, it's just the era and the region it was in. It was the circumstances under which people required an Arabic version of a law that they needed. And to give this some more clout, they just associated this with a god that they took from the Jews. So they took all the traditions, they took everything around them, took the books that, like, for example, the second chapter was most probably a separate book in itself, and they just put everything together, joined it up, put a couple of fairy tales in there, and wham bam, there you have your Quran. So I hope that
I have the homosexuality thing now. Here, this is from Pellet. I was wrong. It wasn't Abu Bakr. I think it was Ali. Is this the thing about having them thrown from a high place?
Yes.
Okay, so Ali, for his part, Ali bin, I'm quoting from the Encyclopedia of Islam, second edition, which is describing these different traditions. Ali bin Abi Talib ordered the stoning of a homosexual and had another thrown headfirst from the top of a minaret. According to Ibn Abbas, this last punishment must be followed by stoning. Delightful. So there you go. I don't know the precise source. Well, in this case, this is just, I think, citing the summary by Al-Jahd and Nuwairi, I think. Okay. Alas, cool. Haha, come on, Kling, prove yourself. I'm sorry, I'm not Encyclopedia Britannica, okay? I haven't got every aspect of history memorized in my head. So when it comes to something I read in a history book a while ago, or the content of my courses, I can't always cite it all off the top of my head. I have to go and do some research. So I'm sorry I can't always cite everything off the top of my head instantaneously. It's a deep flaw of mine, I know. Okay.
Are you criticizing Israel and saying Hamas is okay?
Well, I see. Yeah, of course. Yes, that's right. The moment you don't say Islam is the fucking devil, I guess I love Hamas now. That's how it works, guys. I mean, it's just pathetic. No, I don't support Hamas killing innocent people. I don't support Hamas killing old Jewish grandmas or indiscriminately bombing civilians. Why would you? My concern, I'm a pretty empathetic person, so my concern is usually arising from my human rights interest. So my dislike, say, of, I don't know, the Israeli occupation of the West Bank and Gaza, for example, comes from my human rights interest. So why would I be pro groups that kill innocent people? When my whole point, it's like, oh, because I love human rights, I guess I'm pro killing all these people. I mean, it's just stupid. I mean, people live in these false dichotomies where it's one or the other. I'm sorry, but there's nuance. I cannot like, say, the Israeli occupation of whatever, X, Y, or Z, and I could also not like Hamas's tactics or something. Do you know what I mean? Or I don't like Hamas at all. I don't like they're a religious group. They self-identify as being theological. I mean, I think it's delusional. So no, in case it wasn't clear, I'm not pro-Hamas. I mean, I'm sure it must have been so confusing because I'm very critical of America. I must be pro-Hamas. I can see your logic, but no. No, that's clear.
Do you feel like another argument?
With whom?
With me.
About what?
Bill Mayer.
What about him?
My question is, what do you think of Bill Mayer? And I think you were criticizing him, and I was praising him.
Oh yeah, he's done things like, for example, he's an anti-vaxxer. He has all these conspiracy theories.
No, he's not an anti-vaxxer.
He is. I've read quotes from him saying all these conspiracy theories.
Yeah, but he said he didn't know what he was saying, and he recanted. He said.
Oh, okay. Well, then that's fair enough. I respect him a bit more for that.
Because I think he's great. I love him.
Oh, he's funny. He makes me laugh tremendously.
Exactly. This is the point. He makes you laugh, and this is exactly what you need to do there. I don't think anybody can be for or against Bill Maher. I think this is something that you need to appreciate. That he makes people laugh. He sometimes uses coarse and wrong and really cringe-worthy sentences and notions and ideas, but generally he's spot on. And I love that he's incredibly outspoken and he doesn't give a shit about anything and anybody.
Yeah.
Boy who wrote
God, some of these
was made into a movie and a top book, lied, and later didn't go to heaven. Okay, yeah. Then Charlie Hebdo, moderate Muslims bitching about the cartoons, not the killings. Exactly. This is what pisses me off so much. That they're more bitching about that people are being killed. Thank you very much. Somebody else pointed that out as well. That people are being killed about the cartoons, not the killings. You guys click here to check out the recent interview with Klingschor. You had an interview?
Oh yes, I was interviewed on the Trolling of Logic podcast.
Okay, and?
Well, it was a great interview. We chatted about Quran miracles and the Islamic Golden Age and all that great stuff. So if you want to hear about that,
I think.
Yeah. Someone left a comment. Oh God, this is why. Okay, so is the USA in the Philippines? I mean, how could you even use that example? The US destroyed the Philippines in the course of its colonial history. They massacred like whole villages in their colonial history there. Why do people keep doing this? Like I remember on Facebook, when I was saying I expressed a similar kind of critical sentiment, and someone said, "Well, there was no foreign policy in Indonesia," and it's like you're literally using examples that are like a case in point. I mean, so you know what happened in Indonesia, right? In the 1965 to 1966. Do you know what happened there?
Oh, is this to me? No, I've just heard this. I thought this was a rhetorical question that you were going to answer somebody.
No. I mean, I will. But like, it's. I can't.
No. I've just heard about this, and that's it.
Okay, so the U.S. Supported the coup d'état of Suharto and his sort of conservative Islamist alliance in Indonesia, which entailed the mass killing of up to 1 million leftist workers, peasants, students, and others by the Indonesian military and their militant Islamic nationalists, these Islamist allies. Now, what's even worse than the US supporting this is that the CIA actually advised these militias, these executioners, the CIA advised them to identify communists as kafirun, right, kufar, because of their atheism, right? I can't believe this actually happened. Seems unreal, right? But this happened, right? The CIA advised these Muslim Indonesians to think of their extermination of the communists as them killing communist, to call them kafirun because of their atheism, whose deaths were necessary to religiously purify Indonesia. The CIA told them to think of it like that. I mean, it just... when you're going to do these sort of sweeping rhetorical, well, the US isn't responsible for every single bad thing, yeah, because I totally said that, because of this example, don't then cite examples that fucking support my case. Like, come on! Anyway, but let's not, you know what, we've been getting too political, I've been getting too political, so let's focus more on the historical stuff. So, are there any other comments to read?
No. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the chat, and what I'd love for you to do is talk about the origins of Arabic, because I get confusing and conflicting information there. And I'd love to know what your opinion is on this, whether it is true that Arabic is also a mixture of different influences and different regions.
Oh, absolutely. I have a book here at the moment in my hands. This is Ibn Waraq, who sort of summarizes or goes over the different academic views on sort of like the history of Arabic and the Arabic language. Do you want me to I
can listen to this while I'm getting coffee?
Sure. But would you like me to read from this? Just read some excerpts?
Yeah, just to get an idea, because there's so many claims surrounding the Arabic language that it is the only pure language that has not been influenced by anyone else and any group or any other region or anything, that it is the only pure language in this world. I think this is utter nonsense. And it's a mixture of 50 different languages, and the different ethnic groups came together and everybody contributed a little bit, that it's not only the Aramaic or the Syriac or Syrio-Aramaic, but that it's actually a lot of Egyptian, Indian, and blah, 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 even from Somalia influence and things like that.
Yes, there are extensive. I mean, all right, so I'll... you know what? Rather than I'll access this source. There's a great source. It's by Arthur Jeffries, and it's called the Foreign Vocabulary of the Quran. And he basically goes through and he identifies all the different foreign loanwords within the Quran in particular, which is our earliest real Arabic document, and all the different languages from which these loanwords derive. Now, it's quite an extensive list, but I'll see if I can just get the summary of the different sources, sort of to give you an idea of just the vast the different array of sources upon which the Quran draws upon, let's say, linguistically. The only problem is that I've just got to find the right list right now. So sorry guys, intermission, elevator music, as I try and find this list. If only. Nah, can't find the short list, unfortunately. Well, there's a the most extensive borrowing naturally is from the Aramaic, Syro-Aramaic language. I think. Oh, give me a moment and I'll give you a Jermaine quote. Hold on. Where are you? Stop! I need you! Please stand by as we experience technical difficulties.
I need a faster coffee machine. But this machine is so brilliant. Anyway, so because what is a fact is that you have a lot of loan words, all right? You have words from Hebrew, you have words from different sources which do not make sense in Arabic. Then you have the additional thing. This is what the whole book by Gustav Luxemburger is about, and that is that you have some words, if you use them in Arabic, they don't make sense. Like what you have, like Mary gives birth, and then it says, look at the world, look at the tree, and look at your ass. I mean, not ass as an ass, but your ass in animal, the donkey. Now that's what it says in the Quran. Now that doesn't make sense. Whereas if you now take the Syro-Aramaic meaning of the words, then it's totally different. Then it says, look at the tree, look at the river, blah, blah, and look at your condition. And then it makes a lot more sense because her condition was that she was supposed to be unmarried and she was giving birth, which normally would expose her to stoning because she had committed zina. And this is why then it would make a lot more sense for it to mean look at your condition. So there's a lot of things which do not make sense when you read the Quran. So, but in addition, people are saying that it is a pure Arabic, and I was wondering if there's any historical sources which would say, no, exactly the opposite. It's a mixture of different influences, and here we have this, here we have this, and we can see the trace etymologically, all right, of words coming through this stem and then going in there and things like that. So while Kling is better, then I'll just say hi to Arash and to Abu Mulhid. I don't know who was here first. Welcome to the show. Let us start alphabetically. Then it's Abu Mulhid first, very close.
Do you want me to give this Arthur Jeffrey thing? I've got on page 2 he notes that.
Looking.
Oh, sorry. Well, he says that, and I quote, not only the greater part of the religious vocabulary, but also most of the cultural vocabulary of the Quran is of non-Arabic origin. And then he goes on to note that Syriac. Quote, this is undoubtedly the most copious source of Quranic borrowings. So most of the cultural and religious vocabulary of the Quran is non-Arabic in origin, and the most dominant source, obviously, is Syriac. Sorry.
What is the basis for Arabic?
Well, Arabic.
That's a language that developed on its own in the desert, in the Arabian Peninsula.
Yeah. Well, approximately. It's a Semitic language from the same sort of root as, say, Hebrew, for example.
Or Egyptian and blah blah blah. So okay, so
no. Egyptians are Hamitic, or I don't know what the.
But they also have
Afro-Asiatic language
of the roots without the vowels, and they don't have the same system.
I don't know. They might have the same sort of tricontinental system, but they're slightly more removed from each other. So you've got the Semitic languages and the Hamitic languages. Egyptian's a Hamitic language. Arabic and Hebrew are Semitic languages.
And this would make sense. Exactly.
But they're both part of the Hamo-Semitic greater language family. Do you get what I mean? Kind of like Indo-European or something.
So there's an origin in the region, and this origin is then being transported over distances, and then you have the individual dialects, which is why even today Arabic in Oman, for example, is different or has differences, or there are differences between the Arabic in Oman and the Arabic in Morocco, for example. So there are words which are used completely different. Okay, so that makes sense. Then this substantiates what my initial impression was.
All right, so Arash and Abu Mulhid, welcome. Who should go first? Technically, Arash joined the group first, so Arash, I'll give you the chance to go first. How's it going? What's going on?
Hi guys. I'm just gonna let Abu Mulhid go first, just because he's got a B in his name right now, but I do have a paper.
The alphabet, yeah.
But I do have a paper here that I do want to get back on, kind of relating to what you guys were saying earlier, because I really got excited when you guys were kind of taking it towards politics. That's like my favorite field right there. Yeah, so I've got some things to come back to, you know. I mean, like, Klingschor was right on the Saddam went into Kuwait thinking America had his back, kind of like they did with the war with Iran, but then, I don't know, there's some things I wrote down which I'd like to get to, but just warning you guys, I just came back from the pub, so, you know, cheers.
That's all right.
Yes, okay.
I'm actually nursing a hangover right now, so sorry if I'm not on top form either. All right, Abu Mulhid, welcome to the show. No, I can't hear anything, sorry. Well, whilst we're waiting for Abu Mulhid to sort that out, do you want to talk about the issues that you wish to address, Arash?
Okay, yeah, sorry, I was fixing my mic right now. Well, first thing I was gonna, let me look. All right, well, taking about the Taliban, I kind of agree with Klingschor saying that how America did perpetuate a lot of Islamic fundamentalism around the world. But even when you go back to the example of the Taliban, how you said you would look at Pakistan, right? Well, I would look at Pakistan plus the ideological influence of Saudi Arabia funding Islamism into this. Like, without Islamism, this would not have worked. Do you know what I'm saying? So they did, it was Pakistan, but it was with Islam. I mean, look at everywhere else. You can make the example of America going to the Philippines. Why did it work so well? Because they just said, okay, blame them, label them the kuffar, because they know how easy it is to manipulate.
Oh, sorry, that was Indonesia. That was Indonesia, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, yeah.
Yeah, but sorry.
So yeah, that's one thing. I mean, if you guys want to...
Oh yeah, that's correct. There was definitely a Saudi influence, and there was definitely Saudi funding. It wasn't just America alone. It was Saudi Arabia also has played a huge role. I mean, I think we've talked about this extensively in the show, of trying to fund their ideology and funding it all around the Muslim world, trying to spread it in response to the various political pressures in the Middle East. So yeah, that's true. It's not just. I'm not saying it's only America or Britain. By no means. This is. I mean, plenty of countries have foreign policies that have destructive consequences. So I agree, actually.
Okay.
I mean, of course I agree. I gave a lecture on this subject recently. It's my latest video on my channel is like documenting this process with the Saudis in particular. So yeah, of course I agree.
I mean, my point wasn't really pointing towards the Saudis as much as using Islam as the tool to mobilize people, because it's so easy to use it as a tool.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're drawing upon people's cultural and including their cultural traditions. Islam is part religion, scripture, theology. This is part of people's cultural traditions. So they draw upon these and appeal to these in this sort of political discourse. I mean, the Saudis are a case in point. I mean, the state created itself upon the basis, in terms of their self-conceived ideology of, monarchism, dynasty, and this Wahhabism, which is why they so aggressively exported it when in the 1950s and 60s especially you had the rise of socialism, republicanism, this Arab nationalism, which was anti-monarchy and anti-theocracy. Secular, this secular movements. So in response to that, naturally, to this elite which rests upon, in terms of its self-articulation, monarchism and theocracy was, extremely threatened. So yeah, they try to appeal to these traditions to galvanize support, to motivate people. Is that am I elucidating the sentiment you agree with?
You don't think that there's anything special about Islam compared to the rest?
It has a very well articulated political theory in terms of Muslim tradition, but in practice, I don't think it's that different from other traditions, or in practice, I should say. I don't think it's that different. Why? What are you suggesting in particular?
I mean, I'm not really. I mean, I would kind of agree with what Stopspamming was saying, kind of, but I do see what you're saying with the foreign policy influence. I mean, even if you look at the recent attacks on the newspaper, the cartoonists, I don't think it was a coincidence that these two people were Algerians pulling off an attack in France, which was the colonial power of Algeria. You know what I'm saying? So I think that this definitely has a lot of... There's lots of that to it, but I feel like we're always getting back to the same points here on this show, because there is something specific about Islam which, I feel like if you were to get a Christian, you couldn't convert them so quickly in a week to do such a thing.
What do you think about?
Well, maybe that's maybe not even a good example, but let me just get into the other thing that I was writing about, which is kind of related. You were saying that in history, compared to other people, Muslims don't kill as much. I mean, you're bringing up the American invasion. I mean, which I agree with.
So I should say recent history. I'm thinking 20th century.
Right.
I should specify. Sorry.
And that's actually good, because if that makes it easier for me, because if you take out the past history, that then if you even look at the right now history, I think there's two kinds of violence. There's one violence that is perpetuated by the state against another state, which is kind of like realpolitik, a power kind of thing. And then there's one about violence against one's neighbor almost. It's violence against people around you, the society that you live in. And
non-state actors, you might say, or subset actors.
Maybe, but I mean, one of them is more of a collective. It has less to do with ideology as much as it does to do with like profiting for a business. Even, do you know what I'm saying? Like a country, like nationalism. Like, why is America doing all these? It's for its interests. Hello, right?
Sorry, we're listening.
I'm also listening, and I agree with you 100%. I agree that it doesn't matter whether you go to Panama or whether you go to Puerto Rico or whatever. Absolutely, they've got their fingers everywhere, and it's horrible. That's why I am anti-US in that. I don't think that they should have a role of like global police or something like that. It's just that I think
that's not even. I mean, yeah.
What kind of left-wing extremist are you, Stop? Oh my God! I'm going to log into the comments right now. I'm going to leave. Stop is just one of those anti-American hipsters on campus.
I am, because I see what they have done in Iran. I mean, the whole Contra. I mean, I agree that in the past they have, and they still are, up to a lot of shit. That is why I am openly criticizing the US for their foreign policy.
I mean, just to be fair, though,
and reality is just that you need to somehow, calm down a bit and look at the facts and see. You can't now blame everything on the US, all right? Yes,
no, and I wouldn't. I agree.
Not to say that they are now the #1 proponent and they are killing more people than everybody else. No, I don't think that you can say that. They have not learned. I mean, if I look at Vietnam and Korea and blah, 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 they still think that they're the powerhouse that they used to be, which is not true anymore. Absolutely. But, what does Hamza Tzortzis always say? You need to be more nuanced.
I mean, I wasn't really criticizing America. I wasn't actually... What I was kind of coming to was it's true that it's been done like this, but you can put that in the category of war, and I think that's different from just.
That's the point, exactly. Yeah.
People killing other people.
As well. Yes, this is why
you can't blame them.
All right,
whatever it was.
Because one example that I thought of is if you're just going to look at numbers, I would probably say that probably McDonald's has killed more people than the American military has. We can't just say, okay, which one has killed more people, so let's go after that. It's almost not even about the number of the people dead, but why it's happening and how it's happening. That's why you can't blame as much America. I'm not saying that the war was a good idea, but I'm saying if America bombed Japan with a nuclear bomb, it was during a war. Muslims are doing all of this, and they're not even in a war almost. They'll kill their neighbor, they'll kill their Christian guy within their own country who are their own countrymen, only because of an ideology. There's a difference, I think, between that. So you could say it's not even about numbers almost anymore.
But they are in a war.
I should specify what Stop was saying before, as I understood it, was that there's this group who's causing all this violence, and my point was simply that I think that America, for example, not the only ones, but I think America causes more problems in the world than, say, Muslim fundamentalists do, in terms of people dying at the moment, in terms of causing death and causing destruction around the world. That was simply my point. So if we're going to make these distinctions between, state and non-state violence, and of course, we're excluding
I think we
certain
have to make
categories and so on and
distinctions.
so forth.
I think we have to make
But
distinctions.
even
If we're
there-
not, we have to look at, McDonald's probably kills more than let's go fight McDonald's.
But that's not an argument to ameliorate the U.S. military, for
No,
example.
this was violence only. What I was saying is that the violence factor that is killing people, and I'm looking at this in an absolute way. And okay, I'm speaking from the top of my head. I have the impression that more people are being killed through violence today by Muslims than all the other groups on this planet combined.
But where do you get those numbers from, though?
This is my impression that I get from. This is why I said I'm speaking from the top of my head. I have never done the numbers. I've never added them up. It's just that if I do like an estimate, and I do, okay, I hear 5 here, 15 there, 20 here, 20 there, 100 there, 2,000 there, and I add this up, for this year, for example, then this is what I come up with.
Then, so going off the conflicts that are emphasized in the current media, I don't know if that's in any way near an accurate representation of
I don't
the current
know either.
global situation.
But what do we have outside of Islam? We have the Tamil separatists. We have in the Philippines. We have Indonesia. I have not heard of a single incident in Spain this year.
But there have been, well, this year. I mean, we're in 2015. I don't know what's happened this year.
Well, I have not heard of any other incident in 2015 that would surpass the numbers that I have heard of coming from Islam.
All right. So in Spain, in 2014, there were 33 terrorist attacks.
Okay, that's exactly my point. It's 33. So if you go around the planet and you look at these local skirmishes, what I say is what I call local things, all right, which is political separatists. If I go country by country by country, now I know that we had this huge genocide in Rwanda, Burundi. We had things like that. But if I look at only this year, for example, then let's look at last year. What I estimate, if I take the numbers and add them up in my brain, that is the result I come up with. I could be, I'm quite open. I could be wrong. I could be basing this on wrong assumptions. I could be basing this on wrong numbers. This is just my guesstimate that I am making, that I am saying I have one group only, which is responsible for more violent deaths than all other groups combined. This is the statement that I'm making.
Right. Well, until I have the data, I guess I'm going to have to suspend judgment.
Can you hear me?
Abu Mulhid, are you with us?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Whee!
Then I'll check out your second one that's not active.
Okay,
watch out! Don't check out the right one, or else we're gonna have the whole
I can think that way. Okay, good. I don't know why I always got this problem. Yeah. You said something about like origin of Arabic, didn't you?
Yes.
I can give an example of a word, Jahannam. Jahannam isn't I think it's from Hebrew. It's a place.
Okay.
Isn't it a place where they like used to burn corpses and so on?
Yes, in Jerusalem.
Yeah. So, I mean, just the origin of that is kind of fun. Or, yeah, it's interesting how it evolved from being like a kind of garbage place to be a very important thing in the Islamic Aqidah. Yeah. Last time I wanted to say some things and I never really got the chance. Can I say it now? Hello?
I think we're both waiting for each other. Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Okay. So, yeah, that was like the last, or the 2 weeks ago, you had the like Hadith of the day, and yeah, I know that you mentioned the other ones. I started with Klingschor's Hadith. So I found, yeah, that was the Hadith, there is no transitive disease. And in Arabic, it is La Adwa. And the funny thing is that this Hadith exists in several versions. And it's not only narrated by Jabir, but it's mainly narrated by Abu Huraira. And I found it exists in 4 places in Sahih al-Bukhari and in 3 places in Sahih Muslim. But the funniest thing is not that. The funniest thing is that there's another hadith that exists in Sahih Muslim, but it's not narrated by, or it's about Abu Huraira, but it's from Abu Salama. So I didn't find a translation of the beginning of this hadith, but it's like Haddathani Abu Tahir, so it's all this chain of narrators that the Prophet said, La adwa, there's no transitive or contagious disease. Then the English translation begins. So it goes like this. There's no transitive disease, but he is also reported to have said, a sick person should not be taken to one who is healthy. Abu Salama said that Abu Huraira used to narrate these 2 different hadiths from Allah's Messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But afterwards Abu Huraira became silent on these words. There is no transitive disease, but he stuck to this, that the sick person should not be taken to the one who is healthy. Harith Abu Dhubab, and he was the first cousin of Abu Huraira, said, Abu Huraira, I used to hear from you that you narrated to us along with this hadith, and the other one also, there is no transitive disease. But now you observe silent about it. You used to say that Allah's Messenger said, there is no transitive disease, but Abu Huraira denied having any knowledge of that. But he said that the sick camel should not be taken to the healthy one. Harith, however, did not agree with him, which irritated Abu Huraira, and he said to him some words in the Abyssinian language. He said to Harith, Do you know what I said to you? He said, No. Abu Huraira said, I simply denied having said it. Abu Salama said, By my life, Abu Huraira in fact used to report Allah's Messenger having said, There is no transitive disease. I do not know whether Abu Huraira has forgot it or he deemed it an abrogated statement in the light of the other one. And this is, I think, extremely interesting. It should be really problematic for the Islamic community because there are no less than 4 hadith in Sahih Bukhari and 3 hadith in Sahih Muslim where Abu Huraira tells this, there's no adwa, no transitive or contagious disease. And this hadith that I read for you in Sahih Muslim has some logical implications. Either Abu Huraira forgot or he lied. In that case, it's a huge problem because Abu Huraira is the #1 narrator of a hadith. And if he forgot or lied, how many of the hadith that he talked about did he forget or lie about?
That would be a big problem, yeah.
Yeah. The other alternative is that all 4 of these and all 3 of these in this Sahih Bukhari Muslim is correct, but then either Abu Salama or the other ones in that chain are either forgetting or lying. That could be, I mean, maybe, but then this hadith is true, La Adwa is true. But also that's the problem with the other people that have narrated it, Abu Salama and all the other people in that chain, because then how many of those hadith are true? But the biggest problem is, if you grant, this is not only narrated by Abu Huraira, by the way, it's also narrated by Jabir, so it doesn't matter. If Muhammad ibn Abdullah really said La Adwa, I would argue that makes Islam into a falsifiable hypothesis, because you can test that. If you only can find one single disease that is adwa, that is transitive or contagious, that would make Islam, or Muhammad, and his hypothesis is deemed falsifiable. And guess what? You have that. You have HIV, Ebola, smallpox, cholera, tuberculosis, swine flu, etc., etc., and they are all transitive diseases, and thereby, I would argue, Islam is falsified. And the other hadith, yeah. So the other hadith, and you talked about that a little bit, so I will just say it quickly. It's like this: ينزل ربنا تبارك وتعالى كل ليلة. The Lord is coming down or descending every night إلى السماء الدنيا, to the heaven of the dunya. حين يبقى ثلث الليل الآخر, when the last third of the night is يبقى, when it's about to arrive, or يبقى, it's left. فيقول يدعون فمن يدعوني, فيقول من يدعوني, so one who is making dua to me, so I can فيستجيب له, I can give him the answer, ومن يس, and فمن يسألني فما أعطيه, who can I give, who is asking me for something, I can give it to him, ومن يستغفرني فأغفر له, and who is asking me forgiveness, so I can forgive him. And there's another version of that, and that is by Abi Sa'id wa Abu Hurairah, by Abi Sa'id and Abu Hurairah. In Allah yumhil, truly Allah waits حتى إذا ذهب ثلث الليل الأول, until the first third of the night has gone. نزل إلى السماء الدنيا, he descended to the heaven of the dunya. فيقول هل من يستغفر, and all this stuff, like, is there any mustaghfir, like asking forgiveness, type, making tawbah, sa'il, and so on, and dua. حتى ينفجر الفجر, until the fajr, the dawn, when the first light comes up in the horizon. When it's, when the daybreak comes. And this is one of the hadith that gave me shubuhat when I was Muslim. And the reason is it's very problematic from a cosmological point of view. If Allah descends to the lowest heaven and stays there until daybreak, and don't forget that he jumhil, he's waiting. That must mean that he's waiting and descending at the same time. Since the Earth is a spheroid and rotating, there will always be some place where there is Thuluth al-Layl al-Akhir, the last third night, and there will always be some place where he is jumhil, where he's waiting. Or like, Now, when I was a Muslim, I used to like wake up an hour or two before Fajr and make my Sunnah prayer, because that was very good, and it was because of this hadith. But I always had a problem with that. But I like solved the problem by like, okay, but that's kind of shubuhat. It's only from the shaitan and so on, and you don't think about it and so on. But just before I left the deen, I made a lost effort to like rescuing this hadith by using Einstein's theory of relativity. So I thought like maybe like God is creating some kind of pocket of space-time to which it descends. So that was like but that just created further problems, and they became a mess. Well, he's Irish, he sits upon his Irish, and how do he does just that, and it became a lot of problem. It creates a lot of problem, and I urge every Muslim to think about this. Think about this hadith. Look at images from from satellites, and like models of how scientists today think the solar system works and the universe works, and try to like combine this with this hadith. I think now that this hadith is another evidence that the early Muslims believed in a flat earth model of the universe, because it is only then that this hadith makes sense. Because, I think you can figure out that yourself. So that was the thing I was supposed to say last week. Sorry I didn't participate so much last week.
Wow, that's a lot of information. Do you think you're going to make that available for everybody?
It is available. You're recording this.
Yeah. No, in a concise form that you can present this, because I think you've got a very nice line of reasoning there with a lot of information, which is far too much to appreciate now just while you're talking. I think this should be recorded, and this should be put out in the form of writing in a blog or a video or something like this, so that this can be repeated, so that people can look up can pause and can verify what you're saying, and can appreciate all the different sources, because there's a lot of material there, and I'd love to see this in the in the way and format that it can be appreciated.
During this month when I was in Saudi, I was actually making a little pamphlet, but that wasn't about this. It was only about the sun. So I was researching all the hadiths and everything that I thought about the sun and the cosmological part. So I still have my notebook from that. So maybe I can do that. But yeah, that's a project you can. I'm quite busy, unfortunately. But yeah, maybe sometime.
I mean, if you need help with something like this, trying to format it or trying to find some way of doing it, I mean, I'm sure both of us will be available to help you with that, because I think you've really dug in deep and found a lot of information there. So if you need any support there, definitely I'll spend some time on this.
Thank you. Yeah, it's always this time issue to find time, but yeah.
Well, come on, it's a hobby, so usually like half an hour a day should be okay.
Yeah. I think about it.
Brilliant, thank you. I thought you were going to say something about this, because this should be up your alley, isn't it?
This hadith and its claim concerning the diseases, do you mean?
No, the whole logic behind this.
Behind this falsification.
Yes, that you can take the contents and then develop it and then logically arrive at a conclusion.
Yes, but there's a problem in the premises. So assuming that this hadith, I mean, could a Muslim not say, that hadith is da'if? I don't consider it to be authentic. And then
no, because they're not da'if. There are 4 hadith in Sahih Bukhari. There are 14 in Sahih Muslim, and they are narrated by different people. And look at what, for example, Sheikh Albani says about all these hadith.
I grant you that, but this only works for those Muslims who accept these hadith as being authentic, which is why it's probably, I tend to prefer to focus, say, if you're going to make an argument like this, to focus on, say, the Quran, because you don't face this kind of sophistry or inconsistency or whatever. I mean, it doesn't work for Shiites, for example, if they don't accept these hadith and they don't have an analog in their hadith collections, for example.
Okay, or Quran is for that matter, yes, of course. But it does impact a huge amount of people, and it does show
if
that
you're
you
a Sunni,
can falsify them.
Right. If you're a Sunni, then this could present some, and you accept these hadith and are consistent in your, I don't know, hadith judging criteria, whatever, then, yeah, I say this could present a problem.
I mean, the people who don't accept that kind of reasoning, or that the hadiths are sahih, I mean, they are most of the time not the problem anyway, because they are very they're not very practicing Muslims. I think it's going to be extremely hard if you deny all the hadiths. Oh, this is da'if and this is da'if. I mean, what you going to do? You can do anything.
Okay, but I also do that. I argue Quran 99% and then use the hadith only as a supplement, only to show that there is either inconsistency or consistency. I normally disregard the hadith completely, because and this is true, as soon as you start going there's always going to be people who are saying, yeah, but this is not really that sahih as the other sahih ones, which I would like to be more sahih than the other sahih. So the level of authenticity varies from Muslim to Muslim. So it's a difficult stand to take. But I still maintain it's valuable, because it shows that some of the Islamic texts, and these are Islamic texts after all, can be falsified and can be scrutinized logically, and it is a beautiful exercise in what you can do with logics if you can just follow through with the consequences.
Yeah, but what I mean is that the Salafists, the people that are most fundamentalistic in the Sunni tradition,
they will go for this, yeah.
Yeah, they have to accept the hadith, and therefore
this is true. Yeah. But then it's not the majority. It might not be the majority. It could be. I don't really know how to reliably quantify how many people are part of what grouping, because I hear this Salafis and Wahhabis, and I hear these terms so much, but I don't really know how many there are. I don't really know if it's 18 or if it's 19%, or if it's 20 or maybe only 8%. I do not know that, and I don't know how to reliably quantify this.
Well, in one way you don't have to, because I would argue that it's the fundamentalists that is the problem. I mean, the people who are like not relying on these things, they are normally...
What percentage are fundamentalists? Are we talking about 2% or 20?
I mean, I was a fundamentalist, so I'm not anymore. So it might vary,
Okay.
like with the time also. But I mean, if they become fundamentalists and then you can have, I mean, they can, in the worst case, they can get violent. And if they are relying on a hadith and saying, okay, I'm justifying like taking Yazidi prisoners, then you say, okay, but if you're justifying this, then you have to look at this hadith too. And this hadith is saying this and this and this, and then you can make it.
Exactly, yeah. So what would you estimate? How many Muslims are fundamentalist Muslims according to your own personal feeling?
It's different. I mean, it depends on what country you are in. I mean, in Libya, for example, I think they are quite a lot actually. I mean, in Libya, the Salafi movement is huge.
Okay,
I mean,
how much is quite a lot?
I mean, it's hard to say, but I mean, they are a powerful force there, and in Egypt too, and of course in Saudi, and yeah, I think in most Arabic countries, but there are some like Turkey, for example, they're not very powerful, but in the North African countries, definitely.
Okay, but if you're saying quite a lot, is that 2%? Because I think 2% is quite a lot.
I think it's more, but I'm not sure.
20?
I don't have any numbers.
Okay. No. That's why I clearly said, what is your feeling? Not what is your opinion or what is your whatever. No, just your feeling, your guesstimate, your instinct. What does that tell you?
I think it's hard for me to make because I was only in those kind of circles, and it's also like depend on. I mean, there are areas, for example, in these countries where like all the Salafists are like moving to this area and so it's hard to say, but yeah, in Libya I would guess it's definitely more than 2%. In Egypt, it's hard to say. I don't know.
All right, then we'll have to leave it at that statement and that estimate. Okay, is there anything else that is open at the moment? What causes the most terrorist attacks that make it onto the Wikipedia list? I'd love to see that Wikipedia list, but we don't have time to go through everything at the moment.
I actually looked at it real quick. They're mostly Muslim, but a lot of it has to do with the American occupation, so you can't really make direct connection. They're in Afghanistan, Iraq, and such countries like that. So, but
Iraq
actually,
is not occupied, or what are you talking occupied?
Yeah, but it's post-occupation. See, this is the thing. There's the American occupation occurred, and now you have masses of terrorism occurring in that region. So
yeah, France is also post-occupation.
What do you mean?
Well, the US
I think the wait, say again?
The US invaded France.
When?
1948.
Do you mean the well?
I think a better example to look at would be Myanmar. Sorry.
With the French occupation, with the American, I don't know, let's say liberation of France.
There it's liberation. Why?
Well, but the overwhelming majority.
You're being emotional here.
No. The overwhelming majority, right?
I mean, there is a difference between
liberation
of France, liberation of
from the Nazis, right? Whereas, did the majority of people in Iraq want to be occupied by America? Want to live under? Sure, obviously, I doubt most of them wanted to live under Saddam, right? But did they want to experience an American occupation?
Now you're getting to the crux of the problem. This is where it starts getting into emotions, and that's why I think you can't use this expression. It was post-oppression or post-occupation.
But it's empirically the case.
No, no, it's not. Come on. No, you can't.
I mean, what do you think? What would you call America stationing its troops throughout Iraq. What word would you use for that if not occupation? What synonym do you suggest that I use?
Well, it's not a synonym. It's the wording itself. I would not call it an occupation. I would call it an involvement.
What do you
I would
call
it an aggression. I would call it all sorts of things.
the Nazi involvement in Poland. The Russian involvement in Crimea.
This is why I'm saying you cannot compare this. You cannot. I mean, when America went, or let's say when the United Nations of those days, I mean they didn't exist like that in those days, but when the Allies invaded Europe and they took Hitler to task and said, listen, out, then Hitler was somebody who went against his own people, just as Saddam Hussein did. Hitler killed millions of Germans, just as Saddam Hussein killed millions of Iraqis. So there are some parallels, and others are not. So I don't think you can compare them. I don't think you should compare them.
Hitler had a better PR team. The exiled French government, who sort of were part of that, from their perspective, reconquest of France. So I don't think it's a fair analog to point to.
It's not. It's not, because I think that ousting Hitler was absolutely justified. Ousting Saddam was not. I don't think that the Iraq War was justified in any way. It was a local affair, and nobody should have gone there. United Nations should have isolated Iraq. They should have taken steps and measures, just as we are doing in North Korea and doing in Iran.
And that's also why there's so much backlash. Because it wasn't justified, most people knew it wasn't justified, so the people fighting against it kept on fighting, and so it led to this. It's kind of
exactly.
I think a better.
I feel like you disagree with me. Why do I feel like you make an argument for me?
I'm agreeing with Klingschor at this point.
I feel like you said, no, you're wrong, and then you proceeded to basically make my argument stop.
With your no.
Can I
think that you are making are valid. It's just that the conclusion is wrong.
Okay.
Okay. Let me just make another example really quick.
It's wrong. It's just over the top.
I think a better example would be Myanmar, because if you look at how the Tamil problem was created, the Tamil Tigers, it was a direct result. I mean, they were very brutal, very vicious. What was that?
Sri Lanka.
Tamil
Tigers are a Sri Lankan group fighting against
Sri Lanka. Drunka. I thought you said Drunka. I'm sorry, I'm getting confused with me being a little buzz right now. I'm sorry. But,
sorry, continue.
The reason that they were able to recruit so many people was because of the American bombings of Cambodia and Vietnam. So a lot of these people that joined the Tamil Tigers and committed huge atrocities was a direct result.
I think you're mixing things at the moment.
No. I'm saying that's how post-invasion is going on. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm saying there is a difference between
people's reactions.
Yeah, people's reactions.
Narratives of political injustice. That's exactly the key point.
That kind of stuff can lead to violence. But just to answer really quick, a comment was telling me how I was not condoning the American Hiroshima bombings and saying it's okay. I'm totally not saying that's okay. I was just saying that's different, and that goes under war. This is, hurting completely innocent people who you're not even at war with, like other Muslims. You know what I'm saying? Like
you are differentiating private and nation-based. Because war and terrorism are two different things.
Because
war
you said
is when one nation goes and fights another nation. That is
you
war.
said they're at war with the West, but then you look at Nigeria where they're bombing Muslims. More Muslims are getting killed. This is not, they're not bombing their enemies. They're just bombing to create chaos, and so they can benefit from that chaos.
But this is the point that I'm trying to make. If a nation goes and fights another nation, it is called a war. If it's private individuals going against members of the society who are not armed, it's called terrorism. What Islam is doing, not Islam in general, what some Muslims are doing, is they're saying that the West is at war with Islam. What they are saying is that there is criticism. People like me are criticizing the claims made by Muslims. the way that this is interpreted is that I am at war with Islam, which is an abuse of terms and an abuse of concepts. That's the whole thing. So they're trying to legitimize it. They're trying to say we are at war with those people who are, for example, drawing cartoons because they are attacking us. They are using all this terminology and verbiage which is war-related. But it is not. It is actually a private thing. It is not a nation thing. And this is where I differentiate it. And I think that's where others should differentiate it too.
And it's also where ideology comes in. And that's, I think, where what we're talking about in the original place. You know, that brings us back to the whole Islam thing.
Yeah.
We've been joined by Veg Zur.
You can explain the whole statement that he made.
Oh, wait a second. Hello.
Hello, Manicam. How many cams are you using? You want to explain the comment you made?
Yeah, Arash didn't take it serious, and YouTube stopped Sam. What I meant is it doesn't depend just on the declaration of nations on war. I mean, I get your point. You say the Islamic State is not a state, but who are we to say they are a state or not? I mean, if they're declared as a group, a state, what can we do? We can bomb them, or we can just accept them as a state. It doesn't matter. They for themselves declared they are a state. So, and as a state, they declared war on everybody who doesn't go along with their policy.
Can I just say one more thing before? I'm sorry to interrupt you, Abdulmonet. Oh, go ahead.
Wait a second.
Go ahead. Sorry.
And to say that's not a war, I think that's not honest. Just because a nation doesn't declare with another nation in like contract a war, is not a war. I mean, what was the Second World War? Did the Polish say, yes, let's go to war with Hitler because, yes, it's fun war, it's so cool. I mean, wars happens even if others don't accept it, etc. So I think that's not honest.
I agree.
I think
China's a great example of what you're talking about because, I mean, for a long time, the communist government was not accepted as China. So, like, this huge country was not recognized. So I guess when they were fighting wars, they weren't wars because they weren't. You know what I mean? Like, I agree. I think it is kind of arbitrary to draw the line and say only when a country says, well, at what point does a group or a government become a country? Is it just when the majority recognize them? I mean, then the China example applies because a lot of countries didn't recognize China for a long time. But I mean, does that mean they weren't at war? Or they were just terrorists up until the point when it was said, now they're a country and henceforth all their wars are now wars. So I get what you're saying, and I agree substantially. It seems arbitrary, the delineations.
I look it from my point, because my parents came from Kosovo. And
perfect example. Yeah.
And Kosovo is still, they themselves and by the US are declared a state. But by the majority of the European countries, they are not accepted as a state. Just to be clear here, how to declare a state. The European countries, nations, declared the Kosovo a vassal of the U.S. nations. So that's quite interesting. But still, the U.S. and the people themselves look at it as a state. Many of them. Some of them also see that they are not a state. So I just want to be clear about the war thing.
Can I just put something in perspective really quick? Let's imagine, I would ask this question to everyone, let's just imagine that the Islamic State, or not even the Islamic State, let's just not even imagine something that vicious, an Islamic State, some Islamic State that actually follows Islamic values though, would have as much capabilities militarily as the United States. What will we see in terms of violence compared to now? Do you think that it would be the same, or do you think it would be more? I definitely think it would be more. I mean, just because that we're seeing, do you know what I'm saying? I don't know why we went to the whole state Islamic State is a state or not, or I mean that wasn't my point in the first place. I was just saying that I think you can put a difference between private wars, as Stopspamming was saying, and non-private wars. But even if you were put a Muslim country in that category, a very powerful Muslim country like America, if it was so very Muslim, I think you could imagine some very, very nasty things happening more than now.
Okay, I want to say first, if it's okay. I mean, I also think it would be more violent, very clearly, because the ideology is very, very clear on the point of Islam. I think and they are many would be very open and say, yes, behead everybody who don't agree, and every thief has to be cut off their hands, etc. Very, very fast. But to say like the U.S. is better just because they declared war on Japan and bombed civilians. The civilians had nothing to do with the war, if you want to go with that. Yeah, I think it would be, but with Muslim state, if this would grow, I don't think it will, but it could. It can be very violent. Yes.
I think it could do the opposite. If you look at a historical example, take Saudi Arabia. So the Saudi. Okay, we're going a bit over time, so we should stop now. But I'll just quickly say, interesting historical analog, which went in the opposite direction. So the Wahhabis, were expanding. Their self-articulated ideology was this radical Hanbali, pietistic, intolerant ideology. However, unfortunately for the king, I think it was King Saud, I think this is in 1929, I believe this was. His army, his Ikhwan, this Wahhabi army of his, was actually now invaded. They thought, yes, we're gonna sort of reenact. We're kind of following in the footsteps of the early Arab invasions, and we're going to conquer another empire. We're going to create another, this new political state, this new caliphate or something, right? And so they were actually attacking now, and rubbing up against the British colonial possessions around Arabia. I assume Kuwait and Yemen and the Trucial states and all these British-dominated areas. And this was, of course, a problem for King Saud because he was a British ally, and now his army was pissing off his key patrons, I suppose you could say. And so he actually ended up destroying his Wahhabi army, massacred and destroyed them. So here we have an example of how the political expediency actually trumped ideology, right? Actually trumped the belief system. And I think you probably actually see the same thing with IS. I mean, look right now. What's the Wahhabi core of IS collaborating with? They're collaborating with Naqshbandi Sufis, for example. Now, Sufis are hated by the Wahhabis. They have extreme conflict. Naqshbandis hate Wahhabis, but they're working together because I think demonstrably ideology takes a back seat to pragmatism. So I wouldn't be surprised if IS were to actually change, if they actually became a state, because that seems to be the pattern. Does that make sense?
Can I say a thing, Klingschor?
Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, but first, Rush was that wasn't like a kind of Gedanken experiment. If you really would have an Islamic state, he was not talking about like hypothetically that they will. And I also think that I mean, if like ISIS would grow now, I think they will after a while like their youthful aggression will like. I think they will become like Saudi after a while if they are allowed to exist. But the hypothetical kind of real Islamic state, if they would have the power of the United States, that would be a problem. I would be dead. But I would like to say some other thing. You also said like you say often that they draw upon the madhab of Ahmed ibn Hanbal. and I would argue that that's you. I mean, there are a lot of jihadists that are Shafi'i and like
Yes.
Nomadic,
Sorry, that's correct.
like so, there are a lot of Egyptian jihadists that are Shafi'i and a lot
There are
of from
Sufi.
and
There are
from
Sufi
the-
jihadists. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's another thing. But there are a lot of like Wahhabi kind of, that kind of Salafist that I mean, they read Shafi'i, they read Malik, they read even Abu Hanifa. So I kind of, I think you should, I don't know what I should say, but it's like it's not only the madhab of Ahmad ibn Hanbal, I think.
No, I agree. That's correct. I mean, Al Qaeda, for example, is an ecumenical group who don't discriminate between madhabs, for example. Right. So yeah, I would agree with that.
Okay.
Okay, then what? Thank you everybody for a lively show. Any last comments? Let's start from the left. Abu, any last comment?
Okay, this becomes maybe like you talked about before, Saudi Arabia allied with, or the Islamic States. I would say they partly, but I think a lot of these jihadists, the reason why they don't like them is because they are kind of in bed with the US, or have been at least. So they're still talked like about like why do they throw fags from buildings? They used to throw fags from the building of Prophet's mosques, and it's a long story. But for example, the Sheikh Ibn Uthaymeen says they give like reason from the Quran that in the Quran Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala punished home loot by like this sending stones and so on, and the fuqaha says that it's up to the ruler to decide what way they will die. So it's not. That's the reason why it differs. Sometimes they stone them, sometimes they throw them from minarets, and so on. And they used to do that in Saudi Arabia when some of the teachers there in the University of Medina was young. So they're not doing that anymore.
Okay.
That's my last comment.
Okay, thank you. And Arash?
I just had a quick, anything on the changing of the time of the podcast, maybe throwing it back or forward a little bit? Anything on that?
I think we were talking about this.
12-hour thing. Should we from the 1st of February do this this 12-hour thing that you said?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we could give it a shot, see what people think, see if it's easier.
11 hours, 12 hours. What should we decide on?
Well, I don't know. Let's talk about it in private. We'll do this. Is the laundry. This is the behind the scenes stuff. So we'll we'll secretly discuss and then we'll
come on. I'd like to involve the people who are actually we're doing this for.
That's true. That's fair enough. Well, the time that I think it was for me. It would have been Monday morning Melbourne time, for example. But I don't remember what that is.
Okay, then we will talk about this. This it would mean a shift of 11 to 12 hours. Would that be okay? Because I don't want to go and get into competition with the Magic Sandwich Show.
Oh, we'll see what people say. Yeah, I'm sure they'll give us feedback. Maybe we'll also post on the Facebook or something. And
all right, then maybe we'll do it from 1st of March or something to give people time to get used to the idea. Okay, there's one last point. I see now that there's a question in the chat. It says that the sun sets in a muddy pool. Muslim authorities say is not correct, but if a hadith like the Wood backs it up, doesn't that mean that the sun sets in a muddy pool on Earth? Well, it does, yes.
Also, I would draw upon the source from which the Quran gets this, which is the Syriac Alexander Romance, which is talking about the literal ends of the earth and these literal ocean, like murky oceans and things like that. So if interpreting the Quran in light of the sources from which the Quran gained its material. So if you're interested to look into this deeper, I recommend looking up the Syriac Alexander Romance, because this is the origins of that story, and it might be helpful in this respect.
Okay, so that's it from everybody. Thank you for a lively show. Thank you very much for your participation. Thank you for calling in. Thank you for listening. and we shall be with you next week, and then we'll let you know what times are most appropriate.
Yeah.